So I have the Krasnogorsk 3 from my customer. This is not my own camera, it's a customer camera. So I'm going to install the 10-speed motor to this, not the 4-speed. Actually the 10-speed motor. So the installation is pretty much the same, but there is the axle adapter. It goes to the Krasnogorsk axle, and that is in a slightly different position. And then we have this, where is it? There's just stuff there, so I need to remove this nether rail, and I will remove the winding handle. Let's see, that is the position, so otherwise it's okay, but what did I do? What did I do? This way, yeah. So I'm just really tired all the time, so just like this. So I'm removing the winding handle because when the motor is in place, the handle may get in the way, and because the motor is running the mechanism, then the handle may, if it goes like this when the camera is running, then it may jam the motor and break something. So this needs to be taken out. So we can see these two tiny holes which are used to rotate the screw, and we need to run down first, running down the spring and then taking that out. And it's actually easiest to take out now. So where is it? Again, this button has some issue. So I'm running down the mechanism and then taking this out, and then I'm opening the camera front, and I need to open camera from this side too. There's tape inside, and I don't remember any of this. It's been here for months. So I need to take this main plate out to get to the mechanism, and then taking the movement out. First the front goes out, then the movement and this plate, and then when the winding handle is removed, this needs to be removed completely. So then the axle of the spring motor is free, so the spring motor assembly can be pulled out. So I need to take the mechanical parts out to install this plate correctly. If you adjust it correctly, it only needs to be done once, but if you have issues with it, then you may need to open camera from here and adjust the screw, because let's see, it's easier to with two hands, but so the plate goes here, and one needs to drill a hole here to attach the bolt to fix the plate in place. And at least one of these holes, one hole from here, no matter which one, and then this bottom hole. Those need to be fastened with screws or bolts. There's two different techniques. So if attaching with screw, one needs to very precisely drill the hole and then use thread tab to make holes, threads to the hole on the camera body, so that you can fasten the screw in place without needing nut on the other side. And the easier method is to drill oversized hole, which is slightly larger than the screw, and then attach nut on the other side. And when you have this plate perfectly positioned, then you will use super glue to lock the nuts in place. So if you are very precisely drilling and you can thread the holes on the camera body, you can adjust the position of this plate without taking apart the camera. That's the benefit of that. But it's because adjusting the placement of this plate takes multiple steps. It is pretty much always your first drilled holes are little off, so you can thread them all. So if you want to thread the holes, then some of the holes still need to be oversized to find the correct position. So that's it can't be avoided really. So I think I will, to make it faster and a bit easier to adjust, I will likely use the oversized holes most part. It's because it's intentional that there is double holes side by side here, so this topmost screw is important to hold the plate flat on the camera body, but you can drill one of the holes oversized, and when the placement is perfect, then you can drill the other hole and thread a bit. So that's possible, but the placement needs to be correct. So you can see this row of small holes here, and the idea of this is that you can add 1.5 millimeter pins to the holes, and we usually hold them in place with tape. And when I'm losing the pin. So when the front of the camera is taken out, there is the edge of this main camera body, the metal edge, and I have measured this plate and designed it so that when you have a couple of these 1.5 millimeter pins, the holes, then the placement of the plate on this front back side should be about correct. It's not 1/10 of a millimeter correct, but it's pretty close to that. And you can see these slots. So you can see there's the relief holes for the screws on the motor, but there is those tiny slots there. And the idea of this is that you can attach wire or thread here between this and this. So both the underside and top side. So wire goes around here and then around there. So you get two crosshairs, one on the top and one on the bottom, and those show the center point of this motor mounting. So when you have the row of pins, or at least 2 or 3 pins attached here on these tiny holes, and then you have the crosshairs made here, you can see the position of the motor axle if it would be mounted on this plate. and the blade would be pretty upright and not tilted. So it makes it easier. So you can attach thread here and couple of pins here on these tiny holes, and then push those pins against the edge of the camera body, and then you can see from the crosshair where the axle position would be. And I will show you next when open the camera body which axle you will aim at with this crosshair. And when you can see the necessary position, you will mark to the camera body and the spacer, and possibly to the front part of the camera how much you need to cut the camera side of the camera to make the hole for the axle. And then you will remove some parts of the mechanism to protect them so that you don't damage them when cutting the hole. And then when you do have the hole there, you will use the same crosshairs again, and now you can see the end of the axle which you aim at. And then it's possible to mark the preliminary holes. So the couple of oversized holes, for example, could be this and this, for example, or this and this, for example, 2 or 3 of them, and then you can find positions for those and mark them, and then when you have something to hold displayed against the camera body, then you can test with the axle motor where the axle goes. It's also possible to first mount the motor and axle and then find the exact positions, but yeah, it kind of depends. So I need both hands to take this out, and then the front of the camera needs to be taken out, and then this whole plate assembly. So removing the pressure plate and get this out with one hand. No, too difficult. So we have these holes on the screws on the edge, and to be this sprocket wheel needs to be taken out, and if there is no mark about the correct position, so you can see someone made this mark here already. So there is a scratch on the axle and scratch on the wheel. So this mark is important. If you don't have it, then make it before touching this. And when you have the marking, then you can usually do this without removing these guides. So there is 2 screws on the sprocket wheel. There is one. So 2 screws to mount it, and it can be. So this, you can see I took the plate off. So this is mounted to 4 screws which are here. Pretty easy to take out. So the front part out, and then I did not need to remove this at all. So loosen the 2 screws on this sprocket wheel. On the side of the sprocket wheel there's 1 screw and another screw. So loosen those and then remove these screws. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 screws, and this doesn't need to be removed, but the tiny screw, but I removed it anyway. So it's just to hold the plates together. So I'm putting this to the side for a moment, and you can see this is the spring motor. And here's the centrifugal governor for the speed regulation, and driving axle. So there's still load on the spring motor, so I need to take that out. Let's see. There's load on the spring, tiny bit load, not much. Probably I can just remove it. So, but you need to be careful if your camera works, then run down the spring motor before touching any of these. So first run down the spring motor before opening anything, or taking off anything. Just so that you don't get your fingers caught in the gears when accidentally starting it, when taking something off. So this can hurt you if you're not careful. So wonder where the customer got this mirror, because this is new. It's not just good condition, this is new. I have no idea, but it's new mirror. So this is the end of the axle where we are aiming for the motor, but there's additional gears. So I will first remove the spring motor, and then this start button lever needs to be removed, and normally I will take the centrifugal governor off completely, but let's see. I may not need to do that, but let's see. Anyway, I will run down the spring if there is some load on it, and then take some parts of out. So the next step is to remove the spring motor, and I already removed it. But the issue with this is driving the gear system here. It is driving the camera mechanism. So to get this motor out, you usually need to loosen this assembly. So this is the gear assembly. It's a, you can see, this is a single block. So these larger screws are holding this together. Don't open those. The smaller screws, these ones, here, and here, those are holding this assembly to the camera body. So you need to remove these smaller screws, but not the larger ones. Let's see, I can pull this whole thing out now. And rotten form, of course, because Russia. But yeah, so to get this spring motor out, you usually need to loosen these mounting screws or the gear assembly, but you can't take this out yet. You will just loosen it so that you get some tiny bit of wiggle room to turn it 1 millimeter on the side, so that you can take the spring motor out, and when this is out, then you can remove this. So you can see I got pretty good working space here now when the spring motor and this is out, and you will need to remove this anyway to protect it when drilling the holes, both from accidentally drilling into this, because you probably need to replace the whole thing if you damage a single gear. So you never want to hurt this. Let's put it somewhere. And the spring motor is too large, so it's always on the way. You just need to take it out. That is why I first took the windle handle out because it's holding this in place, and you can take this out without taking the window handle out first. So now we can see here, this is the cable release connector, and this long rod goes to the start button system, so this needs to be removed. There is one spring holding it, and you take this screw off and remove the spring, and this screw goes off, and then I need to that screw goes off, and then I can take the rod out. Yes, this gear needs to be removed, but I don't probably need to remove this centrifugal governor. Let's see. It would be easier to install the motor if I can concentrate on it and don't need to remove extra stuff. Starting button system needs to be removed, and this gear needs to be removed. Here is attached with screw and then pulling it out. You can remove this. You can see here is the axle with the gears, with these bearings, and it's mounted with these 3 screws, and you can take this separately out. If it seems to be impossible to remove this start button system, otherwise then you can take this gear system out, and then it's easier to take this off. So I tested it, and this screw which holds the start, having the magnetic screw. This screw is too long to be taken off when this gear is in place, so to get the starting mechanism off, you need to take this gear off. So I had 3 screws, and then you can just pull it upwards if you have more than one hand. Yeah, like this. So put that on the side. That was the screw which was on it, and now we have this. It is the only thing still holding the starting mechanism in place. This is difficult with one hand. Wait. Yeah, the drop fell here, and you can. There was the spring which was wanted here, and then one screw hold it there. Now we have this rod system which we made. Yeah, so we took that out. It goes there. Then here is the centrifugal governor. No, I don't know. We don't need to remove this, but I'm worried about it generating resonance if I leave it there. So I will take it off. So 4 screws here, 3 screws here, and then it should just go off like that. I will remove those next. So I removed 3 screws which hold this bearing in place, and then 4 screws which hold the other bearing in place here, and then I can take the centrifugal governor out. So you can use the motor with Krasnogorsk with this in place, but I just removed it because it may generate extra noise, and it's not that heavy, but it saves some weight. So I took it out because it's very easy to take out and it's unnecessary with the motor. So someone will get spare parts. So if using, and you can see it starts to collect some screws here. So you don't need to worry about dropping screws inside the camera until you actually run it again. So there's some modification right here, but I don't need to touch those at all. So you can see it's the light meter battery compartment. So, and there's wires running under this felt. So I will just need to check where the wires go because I need to drill a hole here. But it looks like you can feel the wires here, so they go far enough from that. And check about loose parts. So I need to, and there's some spring too. I forgot that. But you need to cap these. So when after installation you need to remember to cap any extra holes to not get light inside the camera. So I removed the centrifugal governor, but I don't remove this adjustment system. Don't remove this because otherwise you need to cap the hole of the speed selector. So you will want to avoid having extra holes on the camera body. So if there's no harm about having stuff like this in place, then don't take them out unnecessarily. So well, just I'm trying not to hurt the mirror because I was astonished that this has new mirror. It's not like new, it is new. Someone has managed to show us a new mirror for Krasnogorsk. I'm dumbfounded by this, but yeah. So, and here is the light meter sensor is here. So usually when I made the modification to Krasnogorsk 2, I took this, you can see here's the plate which holds the movement, the mirror, and the ground glass assembly. All are on the same plate because they are dimension critical. Very critical in the placement. At least 1/100 of a millimeter accuracy or better needed. So they are on the same plate, and this plate can be removed as whole. And I like to remove this to protect these sensitive parts during drilling. And another reason is because the movement generates extra noise, and when finding a perfect motor position, I like to have only this in place so that I can hear what the actual coupling sounds like without the sound of the movement masking it, because the movement is pretty noisy compared to the axle. So I can find the perfect axle position if taking the movement out, so that I can only run the one axle which has the driving gear. But if you want to remove this, you need to remove the sensor, light meter sensor, because that's not part, it's part of the assembly, but the wires go to the other side of the camera, so you basically can't remove this without taking the sensor out. But I will take this off. And If you would have some issue putting this back in place, it affects the FFT of the camera, but the relation of the film gate, which you can see there, and the ground glass is still the same. The mirror ground glass film gate combo is unaffected. So you can take this off. And this camera doesn't seem to have the aluminum spacer here, like most cameras. There's some kind of foam material used. So after the Super 16 conversion, this is Super 16 camera. So I will take this whole movement ground glass mirror block off just to protect it during drilling. So I will take that off. And first the light sensor seems to be 2 screws, and then the sensor off, putting it on the side, and then the plate, I don't remember if it was there. Let's see. Don't touch these ground glass screws. So before unscrewing anything, just carefully check what you are doing, because you don't want to mess this ground glass spacing. So perimeter screws 1, 2, 3, let's see, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, 6 screws like on the cage. So only these screws, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then pulling it straight off. And the light meter sensor needs to be taken off first. Don't touch the wires, just take it off and put it on the side somewhere. I'm putting it there to protect from drilling, or yeah, doing that next. So I took the light meter sensor out, test the light meter sensor, and putting it on the side. Then took off the screws of the movement block. So these screws are different lengths, so you need to be careful which one goes where. So I loosened them and then I put them back in place so that I remember where they go. Now this goes off as whole. And because the mirror is new and I like the shiny new mirrors, I'm putting on carefully on the side. So it does have the viewfinder optics, but this is pretty stripped down Krasnogorsk already. So I have the outer shell. And if you want to protect the viewfinder prism, because you need to drill a hole here, so the hole goes approximately here. So if you want to protect the viewfinder prism, it is possible to take this off, but let's see. There's always check before touching any screws. So there is 3 screws. These are used to align the prism. So we have 1 prism, 1, 2. So it reflects from up to backwards, then turns to the side, and this one turns to the viewfinder. So if you want to remove this, take the smallest screws off, but don't touch at all these larger ones. If you take this off, you will probably need to adjust it when reattaching every time. So I don't recommend it. I may, if I ruin this prism by drilling, then I can take replacement from another camera of mine. So This is customer's camera, so I don't want to ruin anyone else's camera. I can do whatever I want to my own cameras, but someone is going to use this next week, so it would be pretty disappointing if the viewfinder prism would be broken, but let's see. I will think about it. But now it's ready for drilling, and I removed the movement. So you can see the hole. There is ground glass here. It has beam splitter for the light meter. Actually, I did some experiments 10 years ago with this light, over 10 years ago, with this light meter prism, and you can actually attach a video tab there, but it's not that easy because you can see it's mounted in that kind of bit, and you may need additional prisms to direct the image to some other direction so that you can film it. But so have that, and then when making the extra holes, I like to mount this only this gear to work. So you can see that screw on the center. Just take that off, and then you will have the end of the axle, and that fits to the axle adapter I made. So I will take that off and then make this hole to the camera body, of course, for the axle, and then mount this back, and then I can run this axle with the motor without the movement in place. So this should be very silent if the axle is in correct position, so you can hear any differing noise and adjust the motor position. That's why I took the movement out. I'm very confident taking movements out if they are on the same block with the ground glass and mirror. If they would not, then no, then not touching them at all. But most cameras are made like this because the placement of the ground glass, mirror, and film gate combination is so precise that it's difficult to make them if they are not mounted on the same block. So now I could remove that or not, let's see. But if removing this, remember that there's adjustment screws, don't touch those at all. There's 3 mounting screws, those need to be removed. And probably you will need to fine tune the position anyway when reattaching. So can touch if you want. If you don't want to touch it, then fine. But when starting drilling this thing, then you will need to remove this. I don't like this foam stuff. I need to replace it with something. I will try to cut it out as whole. But when drilling, you need to protect all the stuff you can some way to protect it from the metal dust. So I made this to the K2, I used some paper towel and such protect this, and then vacuum cleaner to clean the dust. But let's see. So I need to finish the motor. mount this perfectly, but let's see. It goes like that. And when reattaching this, then reattaching this, then one does not attach the winding handle, one does just attach the bolt to cover this. So the screw which it has those two tiny slots which was mounting the winding handle, you will attach just the screw, not the whole thing. So I will need to move. So I will post the other part when I have completed the drilling and hole cutting and taking this off and everything, and I have the final assembled motor and so next part will come later, but you can see I took most of the camera out, so all the mechanical parts and most of the optics, not all. If you want to remove the viewfinder tube, remember to be very careful with the light meter needle, because you will bend and break it if not being very careful. I think this camera should have working light meter, so I'm trying to preserve that. Most of these cameras have, let's see, I have the gauge. Most of these have these aluminum spacers. Between camera. Let's see, does it fit? Does it fit? Yes, it does, but looks like it. No. So this Krasnogorsk 2 spacer does fit, but normally these spacers are different on different generation cameras, and sometimes they might be slightly different thickness on individual cameras. So you will mess up the FFT if taking spacer from different camera. That's what I learned from the Krasnogorsk 1 and Krasnogorsk 2. But so you need to use the spacer specific to the camera you have. But aluminum spacer is better, but I may try to preserve this foam stuff which the customer had here, because it seemed to work fine. It's kind of thick foam. So first taking the spacer off, and then I will mark the hole position and cut it, and then I can with the aluminum side plate I made, then I can use that to mark the drilled hole positions. So I wanted to show this neat little trick how to find the approximate position for the axle. So I have mounted the 1.5mm pins to the top and bottom holes. This plate, and then placing the pins. Let's see if I can see anything. Pins against the edge of the camera body like that, and having the crosshair made like I explained previously. Then we have the, you can see from the double crosshairs, so you can see the screw there, So we can find the crosshair positions, and now we can mark the approximate hole which we need to cut to the camera body here. So about 8 millimeter in diameter. So got a hole here, and then checking with the actual motor axle, and then we can find more exact position. But because of the pins, it's go towards the edge of the camera body, we can keep this blade upright, straight. So it's much easier to mark stuff and find the positions where we have the pins in place, and this crosshair helps a little. Normally it's better to do it something like about that, and then cutting the hole there, and then checking again the axle. And I have just this gear attached here, and I will remove it for drilling, and then when reattaching, then I will see if I can see anything. Reattaching, I will first remove this gear from the axle length, but that's another part of the video. So I just wanted to show this crosshair thing. So with some pins mounted to the holes, we can get this blade upright and slide against the camera body edge, and then find the position with the crosshairs, and of course the hole will be centered on the axle end. So yeah, but the crosshairs show the approximate position, then making the hole, and then you can see better when you have cut the hole. So now the next step is cutting the hole to the camera body, removing all the stuff which you fear you will hurt when drilling, and cutting, and then checking again. But that's another part of the video. So we got the Krasnogorsk pretty much exploded in little pieces. Here's the movement and mirror, ground glass bulk, and spring motor, and the center plate, and everything, and speed governor taken off. And so these are pretty low-cost cameras, so I'm confident doing this much stuff to this, because if you happen to destroy your camera accidentally, you can just buy another one. It's not expensive, but if you have some spare parts camera, you can probably, if you destroy, most likely you will destroy some gears, because these gears are bakelite, so kind of primitive plastic. It was one of the first plastics made. So these are brittle and can break if you accidentally. So if you drill this, then you will surely destroy completely these gears. So that's why I took them out before drilling anything. Another reason is that I don't want metal dust here, because it's difficult to clean. So now protecting the camera, of course I will mark the position like I told you to do, but I will do it by myself too. Finding one of the pins first, but marking the position and cutting the camera body, and then checking again. Another part of the video.